Hello, everybody. Hopefully you guys are doing great on this Monday morning. It is Marketing Mondays. Obviously, if you watched the last episode, you'll know co-host Aaron West is with us too. Both of us from iMagnet. We wanted to create a podcast where we could really answer questions you guys might have with regard to marketing. So if you have a question, obviously put it in the comments and we will see it and we can respond to it there. Otherwise, like I said, we're going to go through a couple topics that have come through that we're talking about, and we're also going to just answer questions that may have come in from the previous week. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, and we'll get to them. Whether we get to them on this episode or we answer it in a future episode, depends on the time that we have. But we're happy to be with you. It is Monday, July 17th. We are right in the heart of the summer. It's hot most areas of the country. So, and it's the end of the day Monday. So hopefully this is a way for you to transition from the work day into the evening. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Ronnie. What do you got going on today, Ronnie?
I've just been working on a bunch of different things. We've been doing a bunch of the graphics and all that fun stuff. I did want to say good afternoon, everybody. I know you said good morning. It is morning somewhere. You've been doing quite a few of the morning episodes.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. Excited. We've had a bunch of different conversations about a lot of these topics, and it's, to me, I get excited to kind of share this with everybody.
Yeah, I think that, there's so much that's been going on in the world of marketing that we never run out of topics to talk about. That's the great thing about, it's the great thing about what we do is the fact that it's never boring because there's always things, like I said, there's always things to talk about. I was actually just looking to put this in one more group while you were talking. Okay, there we go. There's always things that are going on within the marketing industry. We always have to be keeping up on new things like that. So one of the things I love about our industry is the fact that it never does get old. And I mean, one of the things about this Marketing Mondays format is it allows us to utilize what we're looking at every single day as we go about doing our business and begin to share those insights, share those new findings with the people that are out there. Because most people that are running a business don't have time to dedicate maybe the way that we do to staying on top of things. So this gives us an opportunity to give them a quick 30 minutes like flyover of what's going on in the week of marketing. So with that, I know you've got a couple topics that you wanted to discuss and maybe a couple questions that came in. So let's jump right in.
Yeah, so one of the questions I got this week from one of my friends was, what the heck is Threads and why do I need it? And I think that's been kind of like you said, it's funny that you mentioned it too. I immediately thought of when I was growing up, it was computers are obsolete within like 2 or 3 months just because of how fast everything was moving. And nowadays it's what app is obsolete, or like you can think about, I grew up on MySpace and how quickly that came and faded, and Facebook and then Instagram and all the new ones that have come along. And now we have this new app called Threads. It's a meta platform app that's essentially a Elon versus Zuckerberg kind of Twitter, anti-Twitter that people have kind of jumped into. And so it has a similar format. It's not exactly the same, but the way that it's laid out, there's not really pictures. It's just kind of a conversation text format for people to kind of share their ideas or thoughts.
I mean, I think it's been pitched out there a lot as like the anti-Twitter. And I'm not sure that, obviously, with some of the changes that Elon Musk has made, there's been a desire to have an alternative platform for a variety of reasons. But I'm not so sure that Mark Zuckerberg is launching Threads based on that. I think there was a plan all along to launch a Twitter-oriented type of program. And what Elon's doing at Twitter just sort of maybe sped that process up or maybe created a little bit better demand. One of the things I think that's caused Threads to blow up, and if you're not familiar with Threads, it's definitely something. It's one of the fastest apps. I'm not sure if it is the number one, but it's one of the fastest growing downloaded apps online. I think as of a couple days ago, there'd been 150 million downloads of the app. And the way you sign up is kind of unique. And one of the reasons I think the numbers are as big as they are, quite frankly, is that one of the ways that you can sign up is basically just right through your Instagram account. So it takes all these people that are already utilizing Instagram and immediately allows them quickly and easily to inject themselves right into the Thread platform. I know you had shared a graphic with me the other day about how quickly platforms got to scale, got to different milestones as far as size, and it was astounding. Threads is blowing all of them out of the water. Do you have that? I mean,
yeah. No, I'm looking at it now. So this was the time it took to reach 1 million users. For Netflix, it was 3.5 years. Airbnb, 2.5. Facebook, 10 months. Spotify, 5 months. Instagram, 2.5 months.
This is to reach 1 million users.
1 million users. That's why I was trying to phrase the next one, because it's iPhone. It took 74 days to get 1 million users of iPhone, 5 days for Chat GPT, and 1 hour for Threads.
See, I mean, it's as of the last time I checked, which this may be an old figure because it was, I think, the end of last week, and this thing's growing so fast. This may already be an outdated number, but it was 150 million. So, I mean, and that was, I mean, Threads is what? I mean, I don't even think it's a month old at this time, is it?
Probably, 2 or 3 weeks old. And I think I might have my numbers off, but I thought the Twitter had 300 million users. So it's already halfway, essentially, in the number that I think that Twitter is at. I probably am wrong. But just the fact that it's gotten that big so fast is pretty amazing.
Well, and I think, again, if you've used it, it's going to feel a lot like Twitter. I mean, there's going to be differences and things like that. The reason we're bringing it up is not, I mean, I know I could probably hear a lot of your eyes rolling and be like, great, another social media platform I got to pay attention to. What my advice would be is whenever you see something come along this quickly and grow that quickly, it's something to pay attention to. Just like we talked last week about ChatGPT, Bard, and a lot of those things like that. I think that, when something grows this quickly, as a business owner, it makes sense for you to at least be knowledgeable about what it is. Doesn't mean you need to jump in both feet and start utilizing it and paying a whole bunch of attention to it. But you at least want to make sure you understand what it is. And quite honestly, I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know what's going to be a big platform, a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. But I do know that things are always changing, as I mentioned a minute ago, and that if you wait until it's already a popular platform, you've probably missed the sweet spot of actually getting, really growing in that platform and really being able to benefit. Because by the time it's really popular and everybody's talking about it, you've kind of missed that initial sweet spot of being able to do that. I mean, one of the things you and I spoke about just last week was Facebook groups. And, I was able to launch Window Film Pros group early on. Now it's just about, it might be over 11 years old, but it's at least, over 10 years old, coming in at 11, close to 11 years. And part of that was just paying attention to what was happening and realizing there's no industry oriented group and going ahead and launching it. And one of the reasons I think that group has grown and still holds a very strong place within the industry is because it was one of the earliest. It was the oldest group and one of the earliest ones. Now there's 35, 40, I don't even know how many groups there are in the industry, but with a couple exceptions, I mean, there's none that have grown to have that level of influence and that level of users, because there's a benefit to being early. And that's why I think you need to pay attention to these platforms. And again, that doesn't mean you need to go crazy, but at least be conscious of them. And if they turn out to not be the big deal that you thought maybe they could be, like I'm thinking of things like Clubhouse. I mean, we ran a weekly Clubhouse meeting for over a year, and it was very beneficial, but Clubhouse sort of fell out of favor and not as many people were using it. And we're not really doing that weekly Clubhouse anymore. But does that mean it was useless for the year that we did it? No. I mean, it was a useful tool for the year we utilized it, but then things changed. and we changed with it.
Yeah, I think one of the answers that I gave her within understanding why Threads has become so popular, I think right now it's the only app that doesn't have ads on it. And that's kind of a big thing too. You're not sitting there swiping every fifth swipe and there's somebody trying to sell you something. And whether there's no bots, everybody that kind of integrated their Instagram profile on, you kind of know who's out there and who you're talking to versus an egg that's on Twitter. So I think it's definitely has that more of like a secure feel, like you know who you're talking to. And that's kind of one of the things that people, when I was first couple of days was on there, that everybody's saying this feels like social media was 20 years ago when it was first starting, whether it's MySpace or the Facebook. It was, you didn't have ads. You kind of knew who everybody was. There was definitely much more of like this community of people that you could talk to. And that kind of goes with what you were saying with Facebook groups. And I know that's one of Gary Vee's big pushes is like start a group, be the spot where people are kind of talking about whatever particular topic that you're on. And so that's definitely a way to kind of, if it's something that you want to think about as far as how to use Threads, with if it's something that you are willing to go try. I understand there's lots of people. I haven't joined the last 3. I only deal with Facebook or Instagram, and I totally get that. But if you are interested in doing it, understand how to use that platform properly in a way. Obviously, it's going to be different than Facebook. If you're just having a conversation, you could pose something like, do you have an ice cream shop? Like whether you have Jenny's and you're like, hey, what was your favorite flavor? And kind of you can get the feedback and try to engage the people a little bit more in a not so spammy type of way. And then that way you can kind of have a conversation, understand who your clientele is, or just the kind of people who might be a forever customer of yours, just because you can have a regular conversation with them rather than just sticking an ad in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, in 2023, the second half, I can't believe it's already July of 2023. Obviously, there's Facebook groups associated with pretty much anything you can possibly think of at this point in time. So maybe, and this is the point about being early in some platforms, maybe the opportunity to really launch a Facebook group today and really grow it into something unique is going to be tougher to do because the market is so crowded. However, because there are groups associated with almost everything, it gives you the opportunity to join those groups and become part of the conversation. And some of those groups have I was just talking to a client the other day of ours that has particular content that would be very interesting, not spammy at all, very interesting to a particular group. And that group has 80,000 members. And I was talking to them about the fact that, we can run Facebook ads, we can do all these things, but this is a group of people that are interested in your type of content or your type of product. And we can share content that isn't going to feel spammy at all, because this is the type of content people that are members of that group are looking for. And then before you know it, you become one of the top contributors to that group or whatever, and you become a respected voice. So it doesn't have to be your group for you to benefit from that. I think, we have a community group here in the town that I live in. It's called Village Block Club. And there's a lot of conversations that go on in that, and people asking questions and things like that. And if you become part of that group and you're willing to answer questions, and not just the questions that are always beneficial to you, but answer questions. And if somebody's looking for a product or service that you offer, maybe offering, hey, answer their question, say, just so you know that we offer da-da-da-da-da. You can leverage that group in a positive way to impact your business, even if you didn't start the group. Now, again, if you're going in there with the intent that every time you post, you're going to spam people and you're going to talk about, hey, you should buy from me, one or two things. You're either going to get an email or a message from the moderators telling you to knock it off, number one, or you're going to probably get people to just start tuning you out, because I use the analogy of, and I may have even heard this from Gary years and years and years ago, of a cocktail party, and the group is essentially a huge cocktail party, and all the members are people within the cocktail party. And you would think that it was rude if you were to be invited to a cocktail party to go in with a pile full of business cards and walk around the room as quickly as you could and just hand everybody a business card and then leave the room. People would throw your business card right in the trash and be like, that guy's a jerk or that girl's a jerk, and they'd never consider doing business with you. When you go into a group and you're never contributing, you're never being active in the group. And then when you do show up, you're just posting things that are promotional about you and or your product or service. It's the same thing as walking into that cocktail party and hitting everybody with a business card and walking out the door. People look at it as rude. People look at it as somebody that's not really invested in the community. And ultimately, you not only probably don't help yourself by doing that, you probably actually hurt yourself by doing that. So I feel like, groups can really be utilized to grow and benefit your business and take nothing more than your time to spend a little bit of time. It's not, you don't have to spend money, but you have to do it properly, and you can't go out of control. Here's the thing, though, that you need to understand, that if you contribute, if you're a beneficial member of the community and you occasionally want to throw a right hook and just do a straight up promotional post, people will probably be much more receptive to it, because you've almost earned the right to throw a right hook. But if you just come in and start throwing right hooks right out of the gate, it's not going to go over well for you.
Yeah, I was going to say too, with like going along with your location around your city, I think that's something. Having my own marketing company, I kind of went around and looked at a lot of different the groups that were, whether you're a small business in a particular town. So almost in every major city, there are multiple entrepreneur small business groups that you can join. And that way you can kind of put yourself out there. If it is, granted, some of those groups are fairly spammy. So kind of figure out one that kind of fits your personality as far as what you're willing to post, if that's the case. A few of the ones that I feel are probably the better ones is they have like one particular day. All right, so Monday you can do promotional posts. Otherwise, it's not, and we'll block it and we'll kick it out. And you could just have to answer questions, or kind of if you want to put a poll up and kind of do stuff. But any type of promotional post is not allowed on any day but Monday. And it's definitely one of those things to kind of get yourself out there. You can also see your competition and understand, like, what are they doing? Are they a part of these groups? Are they putting out engaging content? And not to say to straight copy them, but at least it hopefully will give you ideas of things that you can do to kind of engage and hopefully bring you customers. And that kind of goes across the board, whether you're in window tint or anything else. It's just, it's a way to kind of put your name out there in front of other people. And granted, with a lot of these groups too, you have to realize it might be all just straight businesses, but I think it's going to be harder to market to other businesses that are in your area. But if, say, you guys have a similar connection,
sure,
it'll put you essentially.
Well, here's the thing too. We all know that word of mouth is the best marketing you can have. So again, I'm part of a local group that is essentially a networking group. We get together every Tuesday morning, early in the morning before the workday starts. And you would be obviously amazed. It's one of the reasons these groups exist, at how many times business opportunities just get teed up from people telling somebody else, hey, I know somebody that does that. So even in those groups that are primarily other businesses, if you're in there and you're engaging and you're providing value, somebody may just say, hey, there's a guy in the group that does that. His name's Ronnie. Here's how to reach him. So although that business might not utilize your service, it doesn't mean that by you being in there and it's one of the reasons we've always talked within some of our clients that are in the industry of doing like, commercial type of projects and things like that, that benefits to be part of BOMA, the Building Owners Management Association, or ASID for interior designers, or a variety of these different things. Because if you're in that group and people realize that you're bringing value and you're showing up and things like that, then you stand the chance that somebody's going to potentially, tell somebody about your business, maybe utilize it themselves, whatever. But I think people have to be really careful. I see way too many people join groups and immediately, and because I manage a couple groups, I see it from the moderation standpoint, where I approve somebody's membership and like within 2 minutes, they're already full on, like their first post is straight spam. They've been in the group for 2 minutes. No,
I was going to say too, going off to the networking thing is one of those things too. And I guess it's a kind of a gut check thing, because I've wanted, and I'm probably going to start a couple with other marketers, just kind of bounce things off. And granted, they're friends, and so I kind of want to create a little mastermind group. And so that might be something that you might find by joining one of these groups, or people who aren't maybe a direct competitor. If you have a brick and mortar shop and you join a group that has somebody, whether it's across town or in a different city, that you can kind of bounce ideas off of, and like, hey, did this work for you? Obviously, if you're next door to your competitor, that might not be the best thing, but it's a way to at least being friendly and kind of open the new ideas. It might find some of the blind spots that you might not realize that you have.
I mean, I was talking to somebody over the weekend, and they, because I talk to a lot of people that do marketing, do what we do, but there's so much business out there that we don't really view each other, obviously, as competitors. And, they were just sharing with me a couple of things they kind of stumbled across that really were helping them. And like I said, it goes vice versa. I would share information with them as well, but the reality is, it's not just if you're running a business that it's hard to keep up on all this stuff with regard to that. It's hard for us to keep up on everything. So a lot of times you stumble across something that's really working by doing it, just being involved in doing it every day. And, so for me, I find being part of groups, not just, groups related to trying to land clients, but groups related to building my own knowledge and my own skill set, and just reading what's going on, asking questions. I just was in a group this morning, and I asked a question because there was a guy there that was really knowledgeable, and he didn't want to share, the knowledge that he had online. So he literally DM'd me and gave me a bunch of really good information. But again, I would have never had that interaction. He would have never DM'd me and gave me all that information if not for the group, and if not for me asking the question, and in some ways being active enough in the group to where they felt like, okay, this guy is, for lack of a better term, earned the right for us to, earned the ability for us to spend time to respond to him and things like that, because he's brought value to the group. And I mean, like a lot of things in business, in order to fully, take advantage of this, it takes some work. I mean, there's no easy button to a lot of this stuff. A lot of this stuff is you've got to spend the time, you've got to be involved, you've got to do the work. But there's a lot of benefit to doing the work if you know what you're doing and you do it properly. But I mean, a lot of people come to us and they want to be like, hey, is there some silver bullet, that we could throw some money at you and you can do this and it's going to make all the difference? And the short answer to that, I always tell people, is no. I mean, we can certainly do things that are hopefully going to get you some engagement pretty quickly and get things moving in the right direction. But most things that are valuable are going to take time. I mean,
yeah, no, it's one of those things. I think I just wrote a story a week or two ago about A/B testing. It was something we also were talking with Matthew about. Like, the only way that you know how different things work is doing it. And the only way you're going to perfect it is by doing multiple versions of that and kind of see what works. And granted, A/B testing is a whole nother show that we can do, because it's one of those things. It's once you realize, like, oh, let me tweak this and try this, but the only way you're going to know what works is by doing it. You can't.
And here's the thing about A/B testing that's awesome in 2023, heading in towards 2024, is it's inexpensive to do. Back in the Mad Men type days of marketing, A/B testing was a concept. Everybody, obviously, given the ability to run two things and see which one people are responding to and then tweak it, is great. I mean, I think even back then in the 50s and 60s and 70s, people would have said that's a great concept. The problem is it was so expensive to try to run two parallel programs, and the data to get back from those programs was tough to do. And by the time, even if you got the data back, to change it and kill the campaign that isn't working and double up, I mean, we're talking months would pass before. Now we could do that in the course of a couple days. Yeah. We can get an idea of what's working, what's not, and you can continue to then you A/B test, you choose the one that's a winner, and then you A/B test the winner against another option, and then A/B test the winner. It's an ongoing evolutionary thing. It's not a one and done, like all of a sudden, you get to, there's a finish line. It's a continual thing.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously we could go on and on about this, but we only got about 5 minutes left. I got one more question for you. Somebody wrote in and said, I'm using Google AdWords and I'm getting clicks, but my results aren't what I want. How can I improve it so that I get to the right people?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of ways you can answer this question. I mean, there's a lot of different settings and things within AdWords that could be causing that. And without looking at that particular campaign, it's almost impossible for me to say. One of the things I would say to pay attention to, and a lot of people don't think about, is keywords and also negative keywords. When you do it, when you list keywords in AdWords, there's 3 different varieties of keywords. There's exact match, there's broad match, and there's phrase match. And to try to make it easy, obviously exact match makes sense. Basically, somebody has to type something into the Google search bar exactly as you listed it for you to show up for that search result. That makes sense. Broad match means if you put in a keyword and or keywords, Google's going to say, we may show your ad to anything that's kind of slightly affiliated to that. It's a pretty broad term. So if you put in something, they're going to look at anything that might be affiliated and or around that. And some of those may be hits. Some of those might be things exactly what you're looking for as far as people's searches. And some of them may be searches that you don't want to come up for at all. The third of those is called phrase match. And phrase match, think about that as kind of halfway between broad match and exact match, where phrase match is going to take the exact thing that you typed in, but it's also going to look at parallel type meanings and things like that to sort of try to expand that. Think about phrase match as exact match with a little bit of like gray area where they're trying to sort of, in addition to it being exact, they're going to look at some meanings of the words and things like that and try to maybe bring a little bit more in. So you have broad match, which is the widest net, if you will. You're throwing it out there. You're catching as many things as you can. So you can end up getting a lot of clicks and a lot of impressions, but maybe not a lot of value out of that. I apologize. My texts are going crazy if you keep hearing this dinging. Exact match is going to be the narrowest net. I mean, the only people that are going to see that are the people that have exactly typed in what you have as a keyword. Phrase match is in between those. Phrase match is a really good option to go for because it gives you a decent sized net without getting too broad. I'm going to touch on 2 other things really quick. Within keywords, you will see something that's called search terms. And you can look back at the last week, the last month or whatever, and see what terms that people are typing in that your ads are showing for or that they're clicking on your ads. You may see as you scan that list a lot of things that you don't want to show up for. A good example I'll just throw out there is like window tinting. Just the general term tinting a lot of times refers to women tint their eyebrows and their eyelashes and things like that. So you might start coming up for a lot of searches. You're trying to sell somebody window tinting, and the people that are seeing your ads are looking for eyebrow tinting. So if you see things that are coming up in your search terms that you don't want to show up for, you can select those and you can add them as a negative keyword. You could also go in and add negative keywords manually. So that example I just said, if you're a window tinter or tinting, you do tinting and that's part of what you have in your keywords, you may want to proactively go into your negative keywords and add eyebrow. Let's say that you're trying to sell window tinting, not trying to train people, and you're not trying to sell tools. You may also add in things like training, DIY, tools, things like that to say somebody might be searching for window tinting tools, but you're trying to sell window tinting projects to the end user. So you don't want to come up for a window tinting tool search because that window tinting tool search is not a relevant search. Obviously, the eyebrow tinting and things like that aren't relevant. Also, if somebody's searching for window tinting training, if you're a business that does window tinting, you're not trying to potentially reach somebody that's looking for window tinting training. DIY, do it yourself. You also probably don't want to come for that search because those people are looking for tips and tricks, whatever, for doing it yourself. So there's a lot of reasons why running an AdWords campaign might be yielding impressions, yielding clicks, but not yielding results. keywords are one of them. Man, we could do a couple of these episodes just on AdWords alone, but those are one of the things I would search for, look at as far as your ad campaign is only going to be as good as your keyword strategy. And if your keyword strategy is bad, the best ads, the best, all the other things you can do are only going to be as effective as the audience you decide to put it in front of. So keyword strategy is critical. And it's one of the main ways that it's one of the main things I would look at if I were starting to look at it, like analyze somebody's campaign. What's their keyword strategy? And are they putting in the appropriate safeguards with regard to negative keywords and things like that? So I know we went a little bit long, but again, it's a complicated topic.
Yeah, and I think at least I just wanted to add too, I think with a lot of those keyword searches, you can do them together. So you can do specific, broad, and all of those. It doesn't have to be just one specific one that you're kind of kind of be a mix of all of those, so you can kind of figure out. It goes along with the A/B testing as well, where you try to see what works, and at least Google AdWords kind of gives you a nice format to kind of see what was the top performing ones, whether it was which specific keyword and what type kind of worked best for this month or for this time frame that you're running.
And you're going to be able to see what's getting the impressions and what's getting the clicks. So you may find that, you may have a keyword that's getting you a lot of impressions and a lot of clicks, and it's not even a relevant keyword. So, you're going to accomplish two things. One, you're going to weed out results that you're going to save budget to put it towards the good results by eliminating the results you're getting for non-relevant searches. So not only aren't you getting the results, you're actually utilizing part of your budget for searches that aren't even relevant to you. So you're sort of losing on both ends there. So I think that, again, that's why I always say to people, AdWords is not a set it and forget it type of thing either. It's kind of like a garden. Like, there's a little bit of work up front to plant the garden. There, it's front loaded with regard to effort to build the AdWords campaign or to plant a garden, but then you're not done. Once you plant the garden, that's not the end of it. You have to water the garden, you have to weed the garden, you have to all those different things. I know you're into gardening, Ronnie, so I'm kind of talking your language, but if you just said, hey, I'm going to plant the garden and then I'm just going to set it and forget it, you're probably not going to have great results. I mean, it's and AdWords is very similar to that. I mean, it takes an ongoing effort, an ongoing tweaking, an ongoing weeding of the garden, watering of the parts that are doing well, and weeding of the parts that you don't want to really get you the end result. And it's really a never-ending thing. You're never really done with AdWords. AdWords is an ongoing thing.
Completely agree. And good analogy. That worked out. That fits.
Yeah. Sometimes I hit on a good one. Sometimes I go down an analogy and I'm like, I don't even know if that makes sense to me anymore. So at least that one worked.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you. I think we're a little over, but that's all right. I don't think anybody's going to complain too much. But thank you. Yeah, this is hopefully the people that had the questions will see this at some point. You can always, I'm about to post the previous episodes on YouTube. So if you caught the end of this and you want to see the full things, make sure to go onto our YouTube page, or I believe is it under your page or is it iMagnet? I can't remember. It should
be under iMagnet. We're in the process of changing some things around. Obviously, the iMagnet management page is where we're actually launching these. We're sharing it into different groups and things like that, but we're actually always going to launch the content on the iMagnet page and share it out from there. So you'll probably see it there. But again, if you're following us or you're seeing this in a group, we're taking that publishing on iMagnet and sharing it out to different groups. So pay attention. We're going to try to be really consistent about doing these every Monday. If you have a question, please just put it in the comments. And again, obviously we're ending this episode, but we will get to those in future episodes. If you have questions you want to have answered, we really want to make sure that these segments are beneficial for you and that we're giving you good practical knowledge that you can take to implement and, improve your marketing strategy. So,
yes, indeed. Well, until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week.